Welcome to another episode of Living a Full Life. I'm Dr. Enrico Dolcecore. Thanks for tuning in just like every other week. Great information each and every week. And when questions come up and I hear it a few times, I say, hey, I gotta do a podcast on that. And recently, a lot of questions come up on anti inflammation or how to use anti inflammatories or how to reduce inflammation in the body. And a lot of people are defaulting to medical and medicine, so anti-inflammatories, and then they end up realizing that, oh shoot, I can't take those every day and forever. And we'd warn them that you cannot, and their doctor should warn them as well. They shouldn't be on an anti-inflammatory forever. There's some specific conditions where you may be on a low dose steroid or anti-inflammatory, but aside from those, being on medicine long term is never a good idea. Something is always sacrificed for something else. So we are going to go through natural anti-inflammatory properties that you can go through it on an everyday basis and reduce inflammation in the body. First question is detecting inflammation. How do we know we're inflamed? First of all, it's not as easy as just puffiness. Inflammation can be global throughout the body and usually based on diet. But inflammation can also be localized. It can be around certain organs, muscles, tendons. Inflammation can cause pain and may not cause pain. And it runs from systemic all the way to localized injury. So a tendonitis or something specific like in the elbow or the shoulder or the knee where a tendon may be inflamed can cause local irritation and local inflammation. And that can be treated with ice, reducing heat in the area, topicals, um, resting it, and even some manual therapies. And we kind of understand those local type inflammatory reactions that we get from maybe overuse, sports, or an injury where these things may happen. But what we're talking about today is more global inflammation and the things that we can do to help prevent them or reverse inflammation in our body. So, really, inflammatory foods are the number one reason why we get inflamed. And obesity and weight gain are side effects of inflammation. And getting, increasing our weight can cause even more inflammation. So it's almost like a negative feedback loop between the two. So global inflammation, and if you think about eating and digestion, incorporates the entire body, and the gut, the bloodstream, everything. So the pro-inflammatory foods and things that we really need to avoid, which always cause inflammation in everyone, is processed foods. We got to be careful with the processed food consumption. Fast foods, chips, snacks, sugary snacks, sugar, refined, it's all refined, are all processed ingredients and foods that we may incorporate almost daily. And over time, these things can create a lot of inflammation in the body. We're seeing it in children too who have poor diets. They can be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and come in with inflammation because they've been on a daily inflammatory regimen of either processed foods or sugar or both. So that's the number one on the list when it comes to we have to avoid that at all costs and minimize it as much as possible. It cannot be a daily thing. Same thing with refined carbohydrates, white breads, pastries, and sugary drinks. If we have a soda every day, we're setting ourselves up for chronic inflammation later in life. White bread, again, is processed, and pastries as well. The wheat and the gluten that we use in our daily foods are inflammatory as well. So staying away from that stuff, sugary drinks, white breads, and processed foods. Trans fats have been banned in restaurant usage in many countries except the United States. And that's because they obviously cause inflammation. So often found in like fried foods and baked goods with hydrogenated oils. And what these trans fats are, they're broken down fatty acid chains, which once ingested just wreak havoc as far as inflammation and oxidation in the body, which creates a lot of free radicals. And excessive alcohol intake. Anything more than one a day can really increase inflammation as well. Alcohol in itself is inflammatory. And those are probably the top four things that are used in day-to-day American lifestyle that just need to be avoided on all costs. We just cannot consume this stuff at all. If you get into it every now and then, you'll be okay. But if you incorporate it daily or every other day, this has a cumulative effect over time, which leaves us chronically inflamed. So we got to start there. Avoid those things and then incorporate an anti-inflammatory diet. So, an anti inflammatory diet is just like any other diet we've talked about on the podcast over the last 2 years. It's the same thing. We always talk about diet, and everything we say is anti inflammatory. So, fruits and vegetables in themselves are anti inflammatory. Berries, cherries, oranges, broccoli, spinach, the list just goes on and on and on. These things are anti inflammatory, and many of them are antioxidative, which is fantastic. They actually fight the free radicals in the body and decrease inflammation. So, fruits and vegetables have to be a part of our daily diet, at least something. It's amazing how many people will go without fruits and vegetables at all. It will be days before they have a vegetable or a fruit, when really it needs to be the opposite. We have to incorporate a base of fruits and vegetables at every meal. Healthy fats. Healthy fats, unlike trans fats, are things like olive oil, avocado oil, nuts, coconut oil. These things all have healthy fatty acid chains that are not easily broken down and don't create any free radicals in the body. Actually, they help become the building blocks of healthy cell walls. Every single cell in the human body has a cell wall. And by eating proper healthy fats, omega-3 based fatty acids, build stronger cell walls, which lets the longevity of the cell live its full life cycle, which in theory allows people to live longer, which is absolutely fantastic. So, omega-3 fatty acids, they're typically found in fatty fish like salmon or mackerel, flax seeds, and walnuts. But to supplement this every day is probably your best bet through a clean omega-3, either fish oil or flaxseed oil, where you're getting about 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams per day is a great dose. Whole grains can be good for you. Unlike our processed white breads, whole grains can actually be really good for you and anti-inflammatory, like brown rice or oatmeal. These things can be anti-inflammatory and are rich in micronutrients and minerals. And then herbs and spices have been shown to be anti-inflammatory as well, like turmeric, which may be known as curcumin, ginger, garlic, cinnamon. Not only should we cook in these things, but maybe we should supplement these things on a daily basis. Curcumin or turmeric every day may be a low dose anti-inflammatory, which could be absolutely fantastic and has zero harm or side effect in the body, and is 100% digestible. So little ideas that we can incorporate daily through our diet to live an anti-inflammatory lifestyle is the fundamental building block to just avoiding inflammation altogether. Inflammation in the body is always reactive to our environment. So everything we eat, of course, goes into our bodies, and that can be very reactive, but also external radicals like pollution and the things we put on our skin and UV light and radiation and Wi-Fi and all these other things that are around us are always causing disruption and inflammation in the body. So you got to pick and choose your battles. If the environment already has all that stuff around it and you're trying to shelter yourself and keep away from as much of that as possible, so you wear clothing, you protect yourself from the UV light, you do all this stuff, and then you eat an inflammatory diet, well, you're going to lose this battle. So we got to pick and choose. The things you put in your mouth are easily chosen. The environment's not as easy. You got to breathe. So every breath you take, hopefully you're not in a polluted area and you're breathing relatively clean air. If not, that's a battle you can't really choose unless you pick yourself up and move somewhere else, right? So lifestyle changes that we can do to help reduce inflammation is exercise. Regular physical activity can help reduce inflammation. Just 30 minutes of moderate exercise, like walking or cycling, most days of the week, is all you need. If the goal is to live a healthy life, that's what we should look at exercise as. It doesn't have to be this grind in the gym or running marathons. It could be as easy as most days out of the week, 4 or 5 days a week, going out for a 30-minute walk can reduce inflammation in the body. Adequate sleep always is a premise to a healthy life because it's the only time we get to regenerate, heal, and repair the tissue in our body. So sleep is so important. Not only sleep, but good sleep. So 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep is what regenerates and heals the body. And that's where antioxidation happens in the body as well, where it helps repair and heal. And of course, stress management. Stress in itself can become inflammatory because it can cause mental and physical changes in the body. So yoga, meditation, deep breathing exercises, mindfulness, gratefulness. All these things can help reduce stress as well. So got to work with the roll with the punches, as they say, when it comes to life and inflammation. So once we get into supplementation and getting into more of what you guys are probably tuned in to listen to, just be like, Enrico, cut to the chase. What do we need to buy? What do we need to take? Well, we talked about curcumin and turmeric. It's known for its anti-inflammatory properties. It's used in Indian cuisine in depth with the spices, but you can buy this and relatively safe. Make sure that the source is a clean source, an organic source as well, just because of heavy metals in some of the places that it's raised and grown. Um, can cause an issue again, toxicity over time, right? If we're eating heavy metals over time, then they can build up in the body. So make sure that's from a clean source. Omega 3s can come from fish oil. Krill. Krill is the smallest and the cleanest source of omega 3 fish oil. So make sure it's from there. Clean sources, of course. Flaxseed oil is another great one as well. Ginger. Again, buy this organic, eat it, cook with it, whatever you like. Can be taken in supplement form or fresh in cooking. So make sure that's a clean source as well. Ginger has been shown, and boswellia, also known as an Indian, frankincense. This herb has anti-inflammatory effects as well. And there's many other ones that have lower effects in the literature, but omega 3 is probably the number one, turmeric number two, and ginger number three. When it actually, in the literature where they've done studies and actually measured blood before and after taking these supplements, they actually showed reduction in inflammatory markers in the body with those three. But again, you can take a multivitamin, you can take organic juice or vegetable supplement. They make them in powdered form capsules. They make them in fruit form capsules from organic fruits and vegetables. You can take those. Those have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties as well. So there's a mix and match of choosing what you do. But if you just want to cut to the chase, I would take an omega 3 supplement every single day, and either or turmeric or ginger as an aside to that. And I think you're in, along with a healthy diet, I think you're in great shape for keeping inflammation at bay, for sure. Water and hydration plays a huge role as well. Once we start, as if we're trying to get away from inflammation, maybe we are inflamed, and you're listening to this, and you got to get away from inflammation and reduce inflammation. Then hydration plays a huge role in this. Hydration always plays a role in everything, but especially when we're trying to reach a goal. Plenty of water. Most of us need about 100 ounces a day. If you're on the smaller side, you weigh less than 150 pounds, you could probably get away with 80 to 90 ounces. But if most of us that are over 150 pounds, we need at least 100 ounces of water per day to keep going to the bathroom and keep flushing the waste products out of our body. That's the biggest part of being anti-inflammatory, is once we start to pull the toxins out of our cells, because we're actually decreasing inflammation properly, it's got to go somewhere, and it's got to go somewhere fast. Otherwise, it'll be reabsorbed from the extracellular fluid. It'll go back into the intracellular fluid. So that's what we need to do there. And we talked about the external factors of inflammation: pollution, chemicals, allergens. By trying to stay away from these things can play a huge role in reducing inflammation. So if you do have allergies, having great filters in the home so that you're breathing cleaner air is a must. It's an absolute must. There's studies out there that's showing breathing the air inside of buildings is worse than the air outside in most cases, because of all the building materials we use to build those buildings. If you live in a newer home, you have a lot of off-gassing. If you have carpet, you've got a lot of the carpet fibers and everything that comes from there, and all the stuff it holds, from allergens to pollutants in the carpet. The list just goes on. If we do a podcast about that, many of you are just going to build a hammock in your backyard and live there for the rest of your life, because you're going to get out of your house. But what you really want to do is filter it properly. So air filter or air purification system in the bedroom, where you spend 7 to 8 hours every night sleeping. That's a great thing to do. And cleaning out your air filters in the home and making sure you use better quality filters to capture pollutants and allergens in there as well, and changing them out as recommended every 2 to 3 months, whatever it may be. So those are great things to do as well. Chiropractic care has been shown to reduce inflammation as well By improving spinal alignment, we can reduce stress on the nervous system. And if the nervous system works more optimally, it can help reduce inflammation in the body because it will play that pathway and help that pathway more optimally. So there's even studies showing that by using regular chiropractic care to help in that reducing inflammation pathway as well. So some great strategies that you can use to help reduce inflammation. And some of the side effects of being inflamed are fatigue, drowsiness, lethargy, uh, restlessness in the morning when you wake up, you don't feel rested, being lethargic, tired, getting tired very easy, lack of endurance, decreased stamina. These things are all side effects of being inflamed. And then visible things like bloating or irritability or irritable bowel syndrome. These things can be direct inflammation as well. And then there's chronic disease from inflammation as well, diabetes, diverticulitis, ulcerative colitis. I mean, all these things, and the list goes on. When we look at inflammatory diseases, almost all diseases are considered inflammatory, even from heart disease, cancer. All of these things are based back to being inflamed. So, some great tips from today on what you can do to help reduce inflammation. Start with some supplementation, remove the inflammatory things from the diet, the processed foods, the sugar, the refined sugar, the sugary drinks, alcohol. Get these out of our daily life, right? When a birthday comes around, you want a piece of cake, go for it. Birthdays are not every day. But when it comes to everyday diet, we have to take away the things that are just put into the grocery stores. The whole center of the grocery stores, the middle of the grocery store, is aisles and aisles of boxed and canned processed foods. It's a losing battle for society to try and be healthy when all we have options is processed food. You're going to have to be smarter and wiser when it comes to the food that you buy. Shop the perimeter, stay in the produce section, stay in the meat section, and you'll stay out of trouble. That's the truth. So that's my best tips for you for this week. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us at any time. You can email us directly. We love getting back to you. info@fulllifetampa.com. Thanks for subscribing, liking, and sharing. It's how this podcast keeps growing. And thanks for tuning in. Have a great week.